take your seats. Go ahead and call the meeting to order. I'd like to ask Freddie Yoder to lead us in prayer.
Thank you, Ann. Everybody would bow their heads in reverence, please. We start in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Our Father, our God, we again thank you, dear Lord, for the many blessings you have given to this community. We ask you that you continue to watch over us and protect us and inspire us, dear Lord. At this time of the year with the election, dear Lord, we ask that you inspire us to elect the people that represent us the best, that stand for who we are as a community, that exemplify our culture as a community. We ask that you help those individuals that are elected to follow through with their commitments and that they exemplify integrity and honor in the positions that we have entrusted them with. We ask you to continue to inspire this board, watch after this board. Thank you for all the hard work that they do. And we ask this in Christ's name, amen.
Nancy's going to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and thank you all for braving the cold to be here tonight. It's very nippy out there, so glad you're here. And grab some food in the back if you haven't already. We're going to begin the meeting with the installation of officers. We were all elected last time, and Scott Shea, former city council person, Lakeview resident, is going to do us the honors of installing us into office.
Thank you, Ann. It's a pleasure to be with all of you, and my congratulations to all of you for the great work you do on behalf of Lakeview Civic. So I guess all those who are elected, I guess, need to stand and raise their right hand. And repeat after me. As an officer or director of the Lakeview Civic Improvement Association,
As an officer or director of the Lakeview Civic Improvement Association,
I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
I will uphold the bylaws, rules, and regulations of the association
I will uphold the bylaws, rules, and regulations of the association
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
that I will attend and actively contribute to the business and general meetings of this association.
that I will attend and actively participate in the
Business and general meetings of this association.
association,
That I will do whatever I can
that I will do whatever I can
to make this community a better place.
to make this community a better place,
And that I will do by showing respect
and I will do by showing respect
for others and their views.
for others and their views.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations to all.
Thank you, Scott. We all have CRS disease. We can't remember more than 3 words straight in a row. We're going to get right into our committee reports. We're going to. I'm sorry. I would like a motion to accept the minutes of the November 6, 2013 general meeting. Joe, seconded by Nancy. All in favor? Aye. Let's start with our committee reports. We're going to start with infrastructure, Freddie Yoder, followed by Lakeview Crime Prevention District, Freddie Yoder.
Thank you, Ann. All right, we've got quite a bit of activity going on in the area in construction. 7 projects are in the design phase right now that are slated for this neighborhood. They total $38,594,000. That includes the Fort Lee project, which is about $10 million in itself. It's scheduled to get started in August of 2014, and it's got a 2-year construction period to it. So we're looking forward to that. There's one project under construction, which is Harrison Avenue right now. I'm happy to be affiliated with that. That project is coming to an end. March is the completion date on that particular project. It was a $4 million project. It's going to finish about 30 days ahead of schedule. There's one project in the planning section. That's the west roadway at Lake Marina Drive, where it crosses over the levee right there where it makes a turn to go in by Coconut Beach. The total of that project is $256,000, and that's to facilitate the construction of the new pumping station going in. There's one huge project that was let out, and Durham is going to build this one as well. It's Lafayette Greenway Pedestrian Parkway. This is a project that the city's been pushing for a long time, that Susan Guidry has taken an active interest in this. It's about a $6 million project. It's a bicycle path and jogging path that goes from the French Quarter at Basin Street all the way up to the edge of our community right there at City Park. So it's a pretty nice project, and it's going to have a complete thoroughfare all the way through the city, so it's a big deal. The pumping stations, all three of those pumping stations are under construction right now. The one at 17th Street, Orleans Canal, and London Canal. They all got started in January of 2013. They are being worked simultaneously by the same contractor, and they are expected to finish in April of 2016. Those projects are really remarkable projects. They will be on TV one day for marvelous construction projects. The capacity of the pumps that are at the 17th Street Canal, it always amazes me, is 75,000 gallons per second. Those pumps will kick back into the lake from that canal, 75,000 gallons a second. The pumps at Orleans are a little smaller, they're 20,000 gallons, and then the pumps at the London Avenue are 55,000. The haul routes, just for those that are interested, on the 17th Street Canal, the trucks will come in and service that job. They'll come in from 610, they'll go all the way to Hammond Highway and take Hammond Highway directly over to the 17th Street Canal. The London Canal project, they will come in off of I-10, 610 corridor, they'll come up Elysian Fields, and they'll go over to Lakeshore Drive, and they will terminate right there behind UNO. The Orleans Street Canal, they will follow those same two routes, with one exception. They will go up Robert E. Lee, either from Elysian Fields or West End, and they will go over to Marconi, and in Marconi they will take that little short stretch and go in there, or they'll come around on Lakeshore Drive. So those are the two avenues where you'll be seeing the most of the dump trucks come and go. Sewage and Water Board, there's 78 blocks. I'm calling them locations, but they're really city blocks where there's going to be new water lines installed. That work has been underway for a pretty good while. There's 108 locations where they're going to be doing new sewer installations and new sewer point repairs. So that's a big deal as well. You'll see streets and sidewalks and driveways and everything else being taken up to install this new underground infrastructure. All the surface, the streets and the sidewalks will all be replaced. And I'm not telling you I'm happy with the way they're going to be replaced, because I think I'm appalled at the way they're going to be replaced, because they're going to be replaced in pieces. They're not going to be replaced with whole streets. But I fought that battle, and it doesn't look like I'm going to win it. So we're going to have to live with what we've got for the time being. There are a number of streets in this Lakeview area that are going to be replaced. It's not a significant number. It's probably less than a dozen streets, several city blocks that are going to be replaced. If you go on the website for DPW, for the Department of Public Works, they have a map that's there, and it actually shows the streets in this area that are going to be replaced. So I got the map, but you can't hardly read it. So I encourage you to go to the City of New Orleans, go to the DPW, Department of Public Works, look at those maps, and you can see maybe you're lucky enough to be one of those chosen ones that gets a new street in front of this house. The Lighting the Way project on West End, that y'all heard us talk about, that Friends of Lakeview were involved in and actually orchestrating. That project now has finished the design's finished. The Regional Transit has now submitted all of those plans and all those specifications to the Highway Department. We have a number, which is a good thing. We have a construction number for that particular project, and bids will go out this year in 2014, and construction will start in 2015. So that's very much underway. So that kind of takes care of the infrastructure report. So let me run directly through Lakeview Crime Prevention District. We had an emergency meeting that we called on the 16th. There were two reasons that caused us to have this urgent meeting. The first one was to replace Sergeant Joe Bouvier. Bouvier's retiring this month. We had asked Joe and all the people on the board to submit recommendations for candidates to take his place, along with Commander Thomas, who heads up the 3rd District. We took all of those names. They were condensed down to 4 candidates. We interviewed those 4 candidates the other night on the 16th, kind of a lengthy interview process, and came to terms on who we would like to see first, second, and third. We submitted those names for approval to Captain Thomas, Commander Thomas, and then Commander Thomas has to go to the chief with it, and the chief has to go to his department heads to get approval. So we're waiting to get word back on if they're going to approve our recommendations or not. Y'all's information, Chris Landry, who is a local police officer here in town, here in Lakeview, raised in Lakeview, grew up in Lakeview, attended this school. He's really, when I say a hometown boy, he's a hometown boy. Got children here, couldn't pick a better man to have his roots deep in Lakeview. So he was our #1 choice. So he's the one that's been submitted. And if he can get released from the departments he's in right now, he'll be the guy that will take Sergeant Bouvier's place. The second most important thing on the agenda that we had to talk about, y'all been hearing us talk about the consent decree. 3 attorneys on our board, Ann is one of them, Joe's the other one, and Richard Bordelon's the other one. They have been working tirelessly to try to meet with the attorneys from the city of New Orleans and with the Department of Justice to try to figure out where we stand, we being Lakeview Civic, how we fall out with this definition of detail. We are not a detail, but they keep trying to push us back into it. They've made significant headway. The bottom line is that no decision has been made concerning Lakeview Civic and should it be included in the Office of Secondary Employment. So the deadline to make that decision, which was, I think, the January 12th, that has been pushed back. So that's a good thing. So they kind of pushed that back. So we needed a lot of answers from them, and they are gathering information. I say they, I mean the 3 individuals that I just named. They are gathering information for us to make a decision on what we want to do. We really have like 3 options. The first option is to allow this to fall under the Department of Secondary Employment. Not real keen on that idea. The second idea is to maintain the contract we have, all the details that are outlined in that contract, and to try to come to terms with the City of New Orleans and DOJ on what we have to do to appease them. There are some things that they are asking for as far as contract modifications that will cost us some money. So we're trying to get a handle on what that additional cost would be. The third thing is to tell them that we don't want to do either of the first 2, that we're going to go off on our own and we're going to establish whatever we have to do. Third option is not our best option as far as having direct ties with the City of New Orleans and being able to use all the networks, but it is a third option. So we're working through the details, and one thing we agreed to the other night, once we come to terms on exactly how each one of these 3 shake out, and we get all the details and all the facts, then we are going to have a town hall meeting. This is, LCPD is you guys. It's y'all. We just have the honor of representing y'all on board. But if there are going to be, and there will be some major changes to the way it's conducted, that will deviate from the way that y'all voted this, y'all need to be involved in what we're up against in making these decisions, and we're going to keep y'all abreast of all that type of thing. So that's kind of where we stand with that. Our next meeting for Lakeview Crime Prevention is the 27th of February. That date may get pushed earlier if we get the information earlier, because we are kind of on a short fuse. We don't want to be caught flat-footed in trying to figure out what direction we want to go. So we're hustling information right now and trying to put all of our I's and cross our T's, like they say. So we're trying to figure out what that means. The last item that I wanted to talk about, we have been privileged. We started this crime prevention district back in. We started the legislation with Pepe's help, putting that legislation together in 1997. It seems like generations and generations ago, but that's still a long time. And we have been honored to have 4 commanders that have worked the ranks and worked the streets in this community. And those people have been exemplary, each and every one of them. Joe Bouvier, who I have gotten to know, as I've gotten to know each one of the other three, is a guy that I call my friend. He wasn't my friend when we got elected. I didn't even know Joe, to tell you the truth. I was introduced to him. He came highly recommended, and the more I got to know him, and the more I got to see that he's a police officer that has what I think are two qualities that are necessary. He's a hard cop when he needs to be a hard cop. He can make everybody toe the line. He makes the officers that work for them toe the line. He's a tough cop on the street, but he's got a warm and fuzzy side as well, and he's sympathetic to the needs of the people in his community. Sometimes his rough demeanor on the outside gets in the way of the second aspect of it, so don't let that rough facade influence you into thinking that he's not a very caring individual, because I can assure you that he is. Joe goes to church at the same Mass that I go to church every Sunday at 10:30 Mass. That does not make him a saint by any stretch of the imagination, because I go as well, and I'm surely not a saint. But it does exemplify the kind of character that he has. And he's an individual that is a man for men to follow. He's a man that sets an example for other people to follow. I'm going to miss Joe. This community is going to go on now. We're going to have a new commander, and life is going to get back to normal. And everything's going to be fine. But I would like to ask y'all to. Joe's going to leave here, and I don't know if he wants me to say this or not, but I'm going to say it anyway. He's leaving right now because he's going to Anderson to help his brother. His brother's got cancer. He's going to go help his brother, and he's going to spend time with his brother, and he's going to do what he can do for his brother to make his days as comfortable as they can. We hope to God that everything works out all right. Joe is also going to start a new life with a new life. I applaud him for that. I'm happy for that. And man, nobody deserves it any better than Joe does. He got a beautiful home that he's in the process of building over in Tennessee. He's going to live. Hopefully everything will be fine. So I would like to personally thank Joe for everything that he's done, not only for this community, but for the people that are on that board. It's been a pleasure to work with. He's always had everybody's best interest at heart. Joe, you're going to be missed. And you're going to be missed by me and a lot of other people as well. We have a retirement party that's scheduled for Joe, and it's going to be on Wednesday, January 22nd. It's at Gulf Coast Bank. It's between 4 o'clock in the afternoon and 6:30. Nancy has coordinated all of that. Y'all come out and honor Joe and tell Joe goodbye and how much you appreciate everything he's done. And I really, really appreciate that. So I'd like to ask y'all to give him a big round of applause.
We're still going to make Joe work. He has to give a report later. Just a couple follow-up points on the streets. You may notice that the dates Freddie just gave you are a lot different than what we've been told over the year, or 2 years, 3 years. Apparently, a lot has to do with the fixing the water lines, so that we want to coordinate that with these street repairs. But I find it very frustrating that we're chasing the dates. But the good news is we've recorded it every time anyone's given us a date, and we're following up, and that's really all we can do. But there are several, and I spoke to Freddie about it, several legitimate reasons why some of these projects keep getting pushed. But it's very frustrating. I know people in West Lakeview would be most frustrating to see. Florida Lee was 2013, now it's 2015. And let me just give you an update on the alley grader. I always get emails about the alley grader, and the latest this afternoon, it's back in the shop. It was working, and they used it on the West Bank because it was close to the shop over there, and if there was a problem, they could get it to the shop and tinker with it and make it work. So they brought it over here to Lakeview. They did a few blocks, some blocks. I'm trying to find out how many, but it's back in the shop. So it's not really good news, but that answers the question on the grader. But we'll keep pressing them and follow up with them and be diligent with that. Next up is Taste of the Lake with Glenn Stout, our upcoming terrific event coming up.
This is not about streets. Or alleys. Mine's awful too. Tasting the Lake is an event we have held now, and we're coming up on our 4th year. I co-chair along with Linda Anderson from WGNO, so the presenting organizations are Friends of Lakeview, which is closely tied into LCIA, and of course our favorite television station, WGNO. What we do is we put on a special event at the lake, close to it anyway. Robert E. Lee parking lot area, shopping center, as it will. And it's a one price for all inclusive. This year I think we've actually reduced the prices. We're going to try and drive some more traffic to it, but we have about 45 beverage and food vendors, so one price, depending on when you buy your ticket, $40 or $50, from 6:30 in the evening till 9:30. Live music, lots of fun. Please tell everybody. The fundraising that we're doing is for our future lighting of West End Park, between Pontchartrain and West End, where we've been already committed approximately $75,000 in design and engineering funds from previous Taste of the Lake events. And we're hoping very soon to partner with State of Louisiana, if the money's become available, to actually construct the lighting and light that park. So if you'll just tell your friends and then come out for the evening and enjoy it, we will really appreciate it. It is the first Saturday in April, which is the 5th, that evening, Saturday night. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Terrence. Next up is an update on Vernon Brown. We have a North Sea representative through Lakeview Civic who's been passing by Vernon Brown every day, and today he actually went there and met with the project supervisor. And basically, it's on track. Work is being done. He observes workers there on an ongoing basis. Today, apparently, there was 10 to 15 workers there working. We don't have a definite time for completion. You'll recall back in April of last year, they reported completion in March of 2014. I don't know, that's in a couple months, so I don't know if they're on track, that much on track, but there's a meeting tomorrow at City Hall, and our representative will be there to get the scoop, and we'll be able to report back to y'all. So at least it's going on, and it's not just sitting there, and that's good news. Next, I'd like to recognize the attending public officials. And I know Nick LaRusso is here, and I'm going to go ahead and call him up because Susan Guidry's not quite here yet. And then we'll follow up with Roy Arago, who's here for Sarah Houston, and then our favorite Sergeant Bouvier.
Thank you, Ann. I just want to put out, to remind everybody that early voting is still available this Saturday from 8 to 6 over at 10 Veterans Memorial Boulevard, which is across from the old Troop D. And I encourage everybody to use this service. We're kind of on a trial basis now, so I'm afraid if we don't use it, we might lose it. So please encourage your family members to get out there and vote this Saturday. Thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, Council Member Susan Guidry, as I said, is not quite here. School Board Representative report from Roy Arago.
Thank you, Ann. I'm Roy Arago, and Sarah Houston asked me to report on a couple of things going on in the school board. There is a school board meeting tonight, and she was not able to attend. On the agenda tonight was the election of officers, and then I also know that there was this recent ruling with the school board with the teachers that were let go right after the flood. And they'll be discussing that. She asked me actually not to, there is nothing to say as far as the school board's response. They'll be meeting in executive session tonight and responding. I guess whether they're going to appeal or accept the ruling, I don't know. But anyway, that's what they're meeting on tonight. A couple of other issues is that, let's see, they're actively searching to find a superintendent, and they're working with a national firm to recruit candidates for the job as well. So that's pretty much that's pretty much it. Again, she apologizes for not being able to attend. They have a school board meeting and tonight, and she's looking forward to making the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Roy. A quick question. Who here could not make a Saturday morning meeting? Can you raise your hand if you could not do Saturday morning? Okay, one, okay. Next up, we have Michelle Douglas, who's going to give us the latest from Hines.
And I am not an elected official. Hines is the only public school in this area, and I'm proud to be the principal and CEO of Hines Charter School. Ann asked me just to give you an update. We want to thank everybody in the community for supporting our most recent fundraiser, which was the Hines Gala. Back in November, we raised, I think, $57,000. While we have an amazing building and an incredible facility inside, we are working very diligently to build outdoor play spaces for our students, since that was not part of what FEMA funds. And our playground equipment did get delivered recently. I don't know if you passed by on French Street, but that's what that is. We are holding our admissions lottery sometime during the week of February 17th. Whenever a public school receives more applications than seats are available, you go into a lottery. So we're waiting on confirmation from our judge who pulls the tickets. And we want you to save the date and please come to our school fair. It's Saturday, March 29th from noon to 6 p.m. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle. Next up, we have Sergeant Joe Bouvier.
Is this the last report?
Good evening. Thank you for earlier. The back way. We all look at crime by numbers, and that's, I guess, the most effective way to know if we're having an effect. So I'm going to start off in 2012. We had a total of 275 crimes in Lakeview. And if that sounds like a big number to you, when they started Lakeview Crime Prevention District in 1998, was a half year, they had 676 crimes in Lakeview. And in 2013, we just completed, we had 247 crimes. So you can see that we had a better than 10% crime reduction between 12 and 13, and it's been holding pretty steady. Every year it's been going down a bit. And we have the officers that are out here every day to thank for it, because if they weren't out here, I think we'd be subject to a lot more crime. So we had a good year in 13, we had a good year in 12, and I'm hoping that your next commander will have a very good year in 14. We've started out very well in 2014 for January. We're 10 days out from finishing off the month. Last year, 2013, January, had 27 crimes. This year, January, at this point, has 12 crimes. So, and some of the crimes that we did have reported were domestic crimes, which you can't predict those, but we still take, a hit on those crimes. Some of those were like garage burglaries and car burglaries. We've had 3 car burglaries this month, which is a very good number for Lakeview. And we have DNA on one of the car burglaries that we believe is going to help us clear 2 of the cases. So we're just waiting for the state police to run that DNA, which could take some time. We don't get DNA in a week or 2, sometimes it's several weeks, but we feel pretty comfortable that we're going to make an arrest on at least 1, maybe 2 of those. We had 2 automobile thefts. We made arrests on both of those cases. Unfortunately, they were released real quick. One on a $5,000 bond and one on a RRR, which is actually just a signature. So we can't control that. That's not our game. That's the judges. So, the best we can do is we're going to put them in jail over and over and over again and hope that they stay there. So we're having a good beginning for 2014. I said I hope your next guy does a really good job and sinks his teeth into Lakeview, and you have to push. You have to push every day. And we have a lot of citizens helping us, and the more people that have video, the more people that pay attention and report suspicious behavior to us, the better we do. So I have people call me or send me emails, and they say, I saw somebody in the neighborhood, and I didn't know them, but, I didn't feel comfortable calling 911. Please step out of your comfort zone and call 911 and let us find out if the guy belongs or not, if he's a worker, if he's a meter reader, or if he's a criminal. One of our Lakeview cars, one of the guys that's been with us a long time, saw two guys sitting in the car last night. He stopped them. They had not committed a crime. They were from the West Bank, and they did have previous criminal activity. And he was able to arrest one for an open warrant, and the other one, he sent him packing. And we have the information which we gave to detectives. So in the future, we might use that information to close other cases. So, it was good, aggressive police work. He didn't violate anybody. He did what policemen do. And we need your help to do that. So when you see things that look suspicious, call 911. Okay, please pick up the phone and call 911 and let us do our job. We're pretty good at it. We're pretty good at picking through the facts and, finding out who's a good guy and who's the bad guy. So, let us do our job, and we're happy to do it for you. We're happy that you all like us. And I get a warm welcome all over Lakeview. I ride the streets every day. It's been a great 2 years, and it's a good feeling when you're riding the streets, and I keep my windows down pretty much no matter what the weather is, and everybody waves and says hello. And I like to return that. So, and I want to thank the board. I want to thank the Lakeview Crime Prevention District Board for their support, the LCIA Board for the support that they have given us, and all of you for caring so much. We need that. We can't survive without it. This is a tough city. You read the news, you see the news on the media, the news reports, and it's a tough city. It's a tough place for a guy to be a good cop. It's been 33 and a half years, and it's been a fun job. It's just time to go. Time to move on. Thank you very much. I've really enjoyed being here.
Thank you for all your hard work for us. Councilmember Stacy Head walked in, and we'd like to invite her up.
Take your time.
We're way ahead of schedule, so take your time.
Well, I just wanted to say thank you for letting me speak to this group. I am running for re-election. I've been not quite 2 years a council member at large, and I will tell you, this is one of the most amazing communities to represent, but I got a fussy one. You do not complain enough. I travel all over the city, and I hear a lot of unfortunate hyperbole, that parts of the city don't get what they need because Lakeview took it all. But you know what? I almost couldn't get here, the streets are so bad. So I'm going to challenge you, if I get reelected, I want you to complain more, because this community deserves to have better infrastructure. You deserve to have better street lights, street signs, streets, drainage, and the squeaky wheel in this city gets the grease. I'll keep squeaking for you, and I will tell you, I'm really excited to have taken what I think was a voter unfriendly situation where we had the whole city take a circle and make the city a circle. Voting opportunity, voting opportunity, voting opportunity. The black hole of voting opportunities for a huge swath of the city. So 2 years ago I started working to get an early voting opportunity for this neighborhood. Because sometimes you just can't get there to vote early. And other communities have done an amazing job of showing that they want to exercise their obligation, not just their right, but their obligation to cast a vote early so that they can, number one, bank it, and number two, I do believe it makes communities almost seem like a voting bloc, and as if they're more formidable. Because they come into elections often with one neighborhood having 5,000 or 6,000 votes cast in that neighborhood. And sometimes you're talking about a 30,000 person election. That's pretty amazing. So this community didn't have that opportunity. So I worked to get that early voting opportunity with some state people, with some local people. And so now we have it, just a temporary, just a trial, as Nick said. this last Saturday and this Saturday at the office at the Regional Planning Commission's in 10 Veterans Highway. So I really would appreciate it if y'all would cast your vote early so we can show that we're going to use it. And we can have it hopefully in the future at probably another location in the lakefront area. It's also very centrally located, has high-speed access, has ADA compliance, which are some of the issues that we need to make sure we have. And so this community, again, will have the same opportunity as other neighborhoods to cast your vote and to fulfill your civic obligation early. I'm sort of joking about New Orleans, about this neighborhood in New Orleans not rallying hard enough for what you need, but there is some truth to that. I firmly believe that our infrastructure has not been invested in properly. This community has gotten very, very little when it comes to dollars. Harrison Avenue, as fabulous as it is, that's all you guys. Private sector investment and, you know, a group of people that just said, we're going to come back no matter what. You put on the events that drew people back. You made people feel like this was a community that was going to thrive, and you came back. But we as a government have not done what we need to do, which is to give you the foundations on which to build, but you've built anyway. So I pledge to you that I will work with you, but I'm going to need you to be working with me to make sure that the city spends more money on infrastructure, that we do get street signs in every part of the city. The lakefront, New Orleans East, the West Bank, Uptown, the Ninth Ward. There's no neighborhood that has street signs. But there's also no neighborhood that has worse streets than this. And so I really hope that we can make that change over the next few years. My plan is one that didn't catch on during the last tax increase votes, but my plan is when we have a citywide ad valorem or property tax reassessment, instead of immediately raising our property taxes, our millage, just to feed the general fund piggy, that instead we focus those dollars, those additional millages, on paying off bond indebtedness that goes directly to infrastructure. So different parts of the city can have $40, $50, $60 million to work on the infrastructure. Now, while honestly, in this community, it would take about $400 million to make your streets what they really need to be, but a $50 million chunk would go a long way. In the Ninth Ward, a $50 million chunk with the $33 million that they're getting from FEMA would go a long way to building the foundations on which that community can thrive. So again, I would really appreciate your support. I really hope whether you vote for me or not, you vote early, because it was hard for me to get that early voting location, and if you don't use it, you lose it. And thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm going to give thank you to the candidates that are here, and Jason Williams, I think you were the first here, and you are running for council at large as well. And I'll give you a few more minutes than I said.
Thank you very much. It's good to be with you. I believe I've gone to almost every neighborhood association in the city over the past months of this campaign, and I can tell you that the organizational structure that you all have is rivaled by none. In fact, I think if you could rent Freddie Yoder out, you could make a whole lot of money, because that guy is a machine, and you all are very lucky to have him. He's a real good guy. But I just want to applaud you, because that's all I'm trying to do. This is public service at this table today. I'm holding myself out for public service. I've sat in my own neighborhood association meetings and asked questions that didn't quite seem to make a whole lot of sense, and I didn't get the answers that I thought I should be getting. And so I've decided to hold myself out for public service and get involved, because I've got 2 young children, an 8-year-old and a 14-year-old, and I'm a little impatient at the progress that we've had here in the city. We've got progress, but I think we can move even faster. One of the concerns is a concern that Councilwoman Head was just talking about, the streets. And I have researched and talked to other parishes and other cities about what they did to move that progress on even faster. Now, Billy Nungasser in Plaquemines Parish, they fixed every single street in Plaquemines Parish, minor streets and major streets. And how they did it was they reached a settlement with the federal government to get a portion of all of the disaster recovery money that was earmarked for Blackman's Parish. And I believe that Orleans Parish needs to do the exact same thing. Because after a certain period of time, the federal government can say, is this damage due to neglect, for lack of trying to fix it, or is this from the storm? And we are dangerously close to losing a lot of those federal dollars that are earmarked for us now. We've got about 2 years to get that done, and as a city councilman at large, I will champion that effort. And once we do that, I will work with Councilwoman Head and the rest of the council to make sure that we could come up with a strategic plan to fix all of our streets. Now, you know, I've been here a very long time. They didn't get bad because of the storm. They have been bad. Now they're just worse. Okay, so we've got to get outside of the box and look at what Blackman's Parish did, and some other parishes did, so that we can be strategic about how we spend our money. The other thing I want to talk to you about is crime. For the past 4 years, we've lost 100 veteran officers a year. That's about 400 veteran officers. We've brought about 100 new ones on. But that doesn't put us back at missing 300, because we lost 400 veteran officers. And now we have 100 rookie officers. So we have to come up with a strategic plan to have a right-sized police force. And that is going to be one of my first platforms, and I promise you we can get it done, but we've got to prioritize how we're spending our dollars. Other thing I talk to you, I'm going to sit down, is economic development. Looking at the jobs that are coming online in the next 3 years. The petrochemical corridor between here and Baton Rouge, expansion of the RTA down to hopefully Poland at some point, Mardi Gras expansion, the convention center expansion from Mardi Gras World to where the Walmart is, and the biomedical corridor. Those are jobs that are going to be available for locals, but we have to have workforce training in place so that our locals can benefit from those jobs and we can grow middle class. One last thing, I'm going to sit down. We are the only parish that does not have a dedicated department to seniors projects. And I will create that, because we have to take care of the folks that have paid more taxes just by being alive than anyone else. And I'm working with Howard Rogers to get that done now. Thank you.
Freddie Charbonnet, I know you've been here waiting. You're up next. Freddie Charbonnet.
That would be me.
I'm sorry.
One of us got
I've met so many people tonight. Sorry about that. I'm looking at Ira and calling Freddie. I'm very sorry.
That's okay. Somebody was complimenting. Okay, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm very happy to be here to present myself to you as a candidate for Council at Large Division 2. I am Ernest Charbonnet. I was born and raised here, educated here in New Orleans. I'm running for the City Council because I believe the Council should be every bit as independent, as strong as the executive branch. It's the only way our system of checks and balances is going to work the way it was designed to. Now, I believe I have a platform that is both realistic and aggressive. And the three keynotes of that platform are as follows. One, of course, we must build our police department, both in terms of manpower and equipment. We need more officers. We need better equipment. We need a shooting range so that our officers will know not only how to shoot and when to shoot, but when not to shoot. We must address that. The second point is economic development. Look at the economic corridors we've developed, such as Ferret Street and Magazine. That's great success stories. There are other viable corridors in different communities that need to be developed. That would uplift those communities and at the same time put more money in the city coffers. We're losing the retail sales tax war to surrounding parishes. Look at Jefferson Parish, the outperformance to the tune of $200 million a year. The third part of my platform would be to change the unfair manner in which we tax our citizens. We can't keep going back to the same property owners over and over again, raising property taxes that don't do the job. They don't put enough money in the budget to increase it to handle all the problems that we have, and eventually it's going to cause our economy to shrink. So what do? Let's look at those entities that are tax exempt. 60% of the total assessed value of all the properties in New Orleans is tax exempt. Let's start by looking at some of those applications. Some of those applications are fraudulent, incomplete, or the entities aren't operating in accordance with their mission statement. If even 10 or 15% of that is found, that could mean tens of millions of dollars coming back to the city coffers. I believe at the end of a tough, honest conversation, the result will be more people pay, so more people pay less. And we'll have more money in the city coffers to address all the problems such as your streets. Now, I've talked to many of your residents about that, and I agree. You guys have been more than patient. It is your turn. The next major project for streets should come to you guys, and I will absolutely champion that cause. Now, I want you to think about this race and look at my two opponents and myself. Let's look at it. I have one opponent that is a sitting city council person who's been on the council for over 8 years. She's term limited. She's running at large. My other opponent, you just heard, is a criminal defense attorney with no experience in city government. I have that mix of private sector experience, and I've actually done the job. I served on the city council during the interim term in District E. I went through a budget process, went through all the issues that came with Hurricane Isaac, passed all the ordinances required for major developments in the district. I'm battle tested. Please vote for me. I'm number 17. Thank you.
Deidre is here, and the way we're going to do this to be fair to the other District 8 candidates is she's going to give a report as she would and as she does at the meetings that she attends. And then at the point where she's going to talk about the campaign, I'm going to start timing her, and I'll give 2.5 minutes to her for that and the other District 8 candidates. And then we're going to follow up with Ira as well. And if anyone else walks in, we'll go with them as well. Councilmember Guidry?
Thank you, Ann. Appreciate it. I'm going to do just brief report since I know that you guys have been here a while and you're going to be here a little while longer. Appreciate your commitment to the community that shows. I have not been here since we haven't had meetings since we passed the budget. So I just want to give you a little lowdown on that. The major focus on the budget was improving safety and quality of life. We addressed issues such as crime, blight, the streets, recreation, and continued capital project development across the city. We provided for our OPD officers. We provided for 5 recruitment classes for this year. Last year we had provided for 2. If you remember when we first came into office, we found an incredible amount of debt, more than we anticipated. We had to furlough employees we could not hire for some period of time. So now we are working on hiring as quickly as possible, and we're working on the recruitment. We're working on marketing. We put a few $100,000 to marketing for recruitment of police officers. And during the budget process, I learned that we did not have an online application. So I got the IT department and civil service together. We created an online application within 3 weeks, and with the first day, there were over 55 applications on the online, and there have been hundreds since then. So we're really glad about that. We're getting in a lot of applications. What I think we're having a problem with now is the residency requirement. I'm hearing this from the police officers. I've had 2 of the 26 recruits who just recently graduated, pull me aside and say that they have 180 days to move in to the city and that they're having difficulty with their families because of that. And so I'm saying let's suspend the residency requirement for a year, study that, have on the application for the recruits, would you apply if we had a residency requirement, and see how that goes over a year's worth of time. I'm hearing from the police officers that they agree that this is a problem. Even Chief Surpass has changed his tune from being in favor of the residency requirement to saying there are issues, particularly with lateral hires. People who already have the experience, they're already trained, they want to come to New Orleans and do their police work here, but they don't want to move their families in. So if you agree with that, Councilmember Clarkson and I authored a proposed ordinance to allow that suspension of residency requirement, and if you agree with that, I would ask that you get in touch with the other city council members and the mayor and let them know that. The mayor hasn't stated definitely where he is on this, but I don't have enough votes on the council yet, but we do have city council people who are beginning to waver, because we are in a crisis with regard to the number of our police right now. So I'm working on that the best that I can. We also put $5.75 million toward the NOPD consent decree costs that will pay for the court monitor for the year. Brought in 100 new police cars. You may have seen that press conference. It was pretty impressive, the new equipment that we have for the police and EMS and fire. And body cameras for all officers, which I believe is going to be a real game changer when it's recorded, the interaction between the police and the person that they're interviewing or that they've stopped. I think it's good for everyone, and I think it's going to be a real game changer. I'm excited about that. I've heard it's working very well in other places. We now have about 16,000 LED lights in our street lights. We're changing them all out to LED, and that's going well. We're also working on a plan to completely replace our street light system, and we put a goodly amount of money to that for this year. I also found that we only have one traffic engineer for our entire city, so I brought that out during the budget meetings, and then I campaigned to my colleagues, and they agreed, and we added the cost to hire another traffic engineer for the city. We increased North Sea funding by almost $1 million, and we continued capital project development with Audubon Park, City Park, New Orleans Museum of Art, and the Lafitte Greenway. Just quickly get to, I'm very pleased to state that in November, I was recognized by the Juvenile Justice Project of Louisiana for my work in criminal justice and my work for reforms in our criminal justice system. In December, I was recognized by Global Green USA for my work with the Utility Committee on energy efficiency programs. And next month, I've been asked to speak in Denver at a Smart Growth Conference. I'm very proud of that. We're going to be talking about how governments and communities can work together to bring those communities up. And in particular, I don't know if you know that AARP, after the storm, came into the city, and based on the demographics, the high population of elderly people after the storm, et cetera, and the income level, they chose to, for the first time ever in the nonprofit's existence, to go to the community level and work in Holly Grove. And Holly Grove is in District A, and as I got into office, I began working with AARP in Holly Grove, and it's been an incredible situation where really it is the elderly people in Holly Grove who brought that neighborhood back and are still bringing that neighborhood back, and we're going to talk about that up in Denver. So I think, early voting, I don't know, that's both councilman and campaign, but you know about the new early voting, just temporary early voting site at the transportation center. That is that big building that's right in the neutral ground when you come off the interstate on West End. They will have early voting there this Saturday from 8:30 to 6. Everybody I talked to who did it this past weekend, this past Saturday, said it was just amazingly simple. No lines, et cetera, et cetera. So if you want to do easy early voting, you can do that this Saturday from 8:30 to 6 at the Transportation Development Center. right there in the neutral ground at West End. You can also do it all week long, all the rest of this weekend, Saturday at City Hall. And the last thing I'll say that I was just on the way over here and talking to our CAO, Andy Copland. We are this close to getting Fleur-de-Lis Park transferred from the school board to the city. So I think that we will be letting you know about that very soon, unless there's a glitch I don't know about yet. We're very close to that happening. I'm very excited about that because I know, as you know, we've been working on that for about 3 years now, ever since the school board put it up for auction, and we said, oh, no, no, no. And so thanks for the people who helped to put the brakes on there, and I think we're going to see a great benefit from that soon. And now, I will put on my campaign hat and start the timer. So I've really enjoyed the last 3.5 years working for the people in District A, working for this neighborhood. Actually, my work with this neighborhood began well before that, when Freddie Yoder and Martin Landrew and a number of other people, am I speaking into this good? Well, okay, closer up. A number of other people called my neighborhood and some other neighborhoods around the Lake and City Park area and said, will you come up and let's all join together, about 6 neighborhoods, and work on recovery together. And so I did that. It was 2 years as the District 5 Neighborhood Recovery Steering Committee. And that's when I first met a lot of the leaders in Lakeview. And so actually I've been working in the Lakeview area for now quite a number of years. And I'd like to continue doing that as your council member. I feel that in these 3.5 years, there's been a lot of economic development and growth in District A as well as in the entire city. In District A in particular, the bringing back of the Harrison Avenue corridor, and we're working on the streetscape. I know it's painful now, but this is a happy problem, because in March it'll be done, and Harrison Avenue will be a complete and beautiful commercial corridor. All across the district, I've been working on economic development and bringing jobs to the district. With Costco and Mid-City Market, that is over 650 jobs, many of them to District A residents and many, many of them to local residents. I worked hard bringing those in. The owner of the property at Costco first came to me in 2010 and suggested a Walmart there. And I said, please, could you try harder? Walmart's good, we need Walmart, but could you try harder? And I am so, so pleased at what they came back with. We expect $21 million in sales tax revenue over the next 10 years from the Costco, and it's only going to get better from there. That increases our bottom line and gives us the ability to bring more resources to the city. Am I close? Oh, no. All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I have signs over here, and go to www.reelectsusangidry.com. Please go there and sign up for things. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Our next up, we're going to go to the other District A candidates. We have Jason Coleman, David Capasso, and Drew Ward. Jason, are you up?
Thank you.
Thank you for being patient. We've got so much literature here. Thank you.
Well, greetings. I'm Tim, a Neighborhood Association board member of the Wichita Neighborhood Association. I'm also the co-chair of the Democratic Party of the city, OPDEC. I bring you greetings. I want to just introduce myself for those who may not have met me before. Probably seen me on the news or the Access Channel with regards to transportation. My family owns and operates a 67-year-old business, Coleman Cab Company, in the city of New Orleans. Basically, I am a graduate of Jordan Diabetes Elementary, which is in District A, Beauregard, and the new McDonald 35 that will be built on the Bayou St. John. I am the chair of the new building project. By the age of 21, I actually was able to be elected to the Student Government Association at Southern University, and I put several ordinances in place. One very important one was the public service onto campus without even raising costs. Another one was actually public service initiatives like traffic ticket reform, that you can actually do due process and you wouldn't have to pay for it before you actually had to argue it in court. Those are the issues that we bring up today with regards to the safety cameras, in regards to how we are governed as a city and how our tax dollars are being used. As a small business person, I can tell you how to stretch the dollar. I can tell you how to actually put a budget together that shows the liabilities that we have. Currently, we don't know how much liabilities we have. $20 million on the fireman pension, nobody mentioned that. That's a liability. We don't have a balanced budget right now. And we need to make sure we have a business approach. I'm a business graduate at Southern University, and I'll make sure that the money is spent, and I will watch your pocket like I watch my pocket. No new taxes, utility, sanitation, whatever. We are being taxed out of New Orleans right now. And we need to make sure that we are here to stay around so the new city is actually part of the old city. Right now, I have this feel of everything, the big lights, the bright sound that we're hearing about. One voice, there's only one voice, and it's not ours. There needs to be a choir of our voices come together to have one better city that everybody can see the prosperity in the city of New Orleans. Several years ago, when I was in second grade, I ran for office, and ever since then I've been running for student government, just because I want to make sure my constituents and my friends are taken care of. Because at the end of the day, we want to be safe. I shouldn't have a bullet hole in my house and be scared for my children's life because of the police patrolman not being on the job. Currently, we are 350 officers short. I will make sure the money is spent and that it's budgeted and actually have the officers on the street. Those are things that the city council is supposed to be doing, watching the mayor to make sure the money is spent properly. Currently, we're saying kumbaya, but at the end of the day, we're going to too many funerals. I know I went to 2 last year of my family members. None of them have anything to do with crime. Wrong place, wrong time. New Orleans is not the wrong place. This is the right time. I want to be the city that we not only visit, but actually want to live in. Give me a second. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Jason. So next up, David Castro.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is David Capasso. I'm a lawyer, labor lawyer, civil rights lawyer, father of 2. I'm a deacon at First Presbyterian Church, the oldest non-Catholic church in the city of New Orleans. We do get along with Baptists. Lakeview Presbyterian, our sister church, 100 years old, celebrating a new minister. Across the street, St. Paul's Methodist, is that right? Just has a theater. I'm actually very excited about several coalitions in this city that are bringing back faith-based coalitions to fight against poverty and deal with social justice issues. I'm a man of God, and I'm not afraid to say it. I'm a Loyola Law graduate. I'm descended from 50 years ago. Many people don't remember. There were labor priests that reached out and talked about organizing workers that were low-wage workers, poverty workers, sharecroppers. Father Toomey, a disciple from the Toomey Institute, Bill Quigley, Jack Nelson. There are people in this city that have legendary, Norman Francis, that have done some great work. And it seems a lot of times that all we want to talk about a lot of times is streets and taxes. You've got to sometimes call out the people who are doing things against our interests. And yes, I am a Democrat, and Drew Ward is running, progressive Republican. A lot of Republican friends, Mr. LaRusso, is that the #1 public employee in this state, Bobby Jindal, if you support him, don't vote for me, please, is that this man, and again, a lot of people that support him, and a lot of people have gone along with him because they feel like there's nothing they can do about it, has dismantled our mental health care, our state employees, given the impression that public employees are lazy, they don't do a good job, we can't afford. Every day you talk to a librarian, a custodian at the courthouse, as Ms. Guidry, and everybody knows that they make $7.25 an hour. This is a contract out of California. I can sit up here and talk to you for 25 to 30 minutes about how many out-of-state contractors that we have been giving money to convince us that that's the way to do it. Private contractors for streets, private contractors, 10 seconds, okay. Well, I'm running for a proactive type of city council. I'm against these camera tickets. On day one, I get rid of these camera tickets. They're a constitutional violation. We can create a better New Orleans instead of preying on people to do with crime cameras. And the last thing I'll say is that a lot of people get the impression that we're doing things for tourists and not for industry. How about out of the box? How about a card that says we get discounts at Jazz Fest? How about Lakeview residents get discounts at the stores? Easy to do if we think out of the box. And of course, streets, I'll put people on the committee from Lakeview to talk about these issues so that you have participation in every issue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have Drew Ward, and then we're going to have Ira Thomas, and then we're going to go, I'm sorry, is someone else here also? Oh, Dr. Rouse, the coroner candidate. Great. Okay, Ira Thomas, Dr. Rouse, after Drew Ward, and then we have some really cool awards to give out, and then we'll be done.
How you doing, ladies and gents? My name's Drew Ward, resident of Carrollton. I've been making lots of noise and different things, and I'll just start with what I know you guys wanted to hear about, and that's Lakeview roads, because, well, we're in Lakeview. And I want to talk about something that most people are not touching on, and that is why the roads are messed up to begin with. You guys have looked at David Wagner's Living with Water plan. He talks about the permeability of soils and all. This part of New Orleans is mostly considered below sea level in many places. It was not built below sea level. As many of you know, much of Lakeview was built via reclaiming land from the lake by the Corps of Engineers, so they could put military bases out of West Bend and back toward UNO and all that. The military generally does not build things below sea level. If you go in your kitchen, you've got a nice little sponge in your kitchen sink, and you buy it from the store and you use it and you get it wet, and you can wash dishes with it. And most part, every time you pick it up, it's going to have water in it. And you can wring it out, you can hold it under the faucet, and it's going to soak up water and it's going to keep it. And it's good. Eventually it gets a little nasty and you throw it in the washing machine. If you toss it in the dryer too, when you get it out though, it shrinks down to a much smaller size and becomes very rigid. And it doesn't move very much. If you stick it under the faucet and run water right on it, that water pretty much just rolls right off. You hold it there for almost a minute, it won't do anything. And not until you break it a little bit with your hand and squeeze it and get it kind of primed to take on water again, can it do its sponge job. In New Orleans, we live on a sponge. The soil type we have here is fluid. It's a liquid. Even though it's made of sand and lime and all that, it never quits being a moving liquid. Back in the 50s, we started putting non-permeable solid surfaces on everything. Concrete, asphalt, and of course, what are many of the roads that are so bad around here made of? If you go over there, Fleur-de-Lis and August Canal, big slabs of concrete. And this is, the point is that they cannot move, they can't let anything in. Well, if your soil is moving, and the thing you put on top of it can't move, it's not going to go matching up too well. And then when you start drying up your soil and your sponge, when it can't bend and it can only jerk back and forth, you start sudden movements. So that's why you have slabs of sidewalks, slabs of concrete here and there. Putting another coat of asphalt on them won't help. Putting another coat of concrete won't help. We have to actually tear all that crap out and put in the type of paving that we're supposed to have. Any of you been to Europe? Nuremberg, Berlin, Prague, Paris, even most of London? They're the same types of soils we have here. It's a big, wet, kind of muddy city surrounded by water. They have permeable bricks or pavers. The water that falls goes through. When the ground moves, they move, and it works. Most of New Orleans, with these old brick sidewalks, they're fine and when you dig them out. We've been digging them out in Carrollton. They're still good 150 years later. Well, if you want to talk about what it takes to fix this place, it's not about a Band-Aid on it. It's about actually going in and doing the right thing to begin with. Thank you. Biggest issue here, right?
Thank you. Run for sheriff.
Thank you, and good evening, and thank you, too, for this opportunity to come before you. My name is Ira Thomas, and I'm a candidate in the race for Orleans Parish Sheriff. And I currently hold a seat on the Orleans Parish School Board. I represent District 1, which is New Orleans East and New Orleans 9th Ward, and just closed out my year as board president, thank God, because they told me it was a part-time job, but they lied to me. And Michelle was part of that. You know, and so I'll never forgive her for it. But, you know, I got involved in education, not because I was an educator, but after Katrina, our school system was in a crisis. And I wanted to be a part of rebuilding public education in this city because I'm a product of public education, graduate of George Washington Carver Senior High School. So I wanted to work to help rebuild our public educational system. And we did just that in 5 years. We are number 2 in the state for the second year in a row in school performance scores. And this lady right here is a very large part of that reason that we are ranked so high in the state, and we've never had those rankings before. And so in terms of the business aspect of the board, we're managing public dollars much better. We're not living from month to month trying to make payroll. We actually have a sizable fund balance, nearly $50 million in the bank. We have the best bond rating in the city. We're no longer in academic crisis. And so we're building new schools that Hines is housed in, state-of-the-art, 21st century, energy-efficient schools throughout the city of New Orleans. So I'm proud of the progress, and I'm proud to have been a part of the progress for public education. We have truly turned the corner. But my background has been in law enforcement. I stand before you with 34 years of law enforcement experience. I'm the chief of police at Southern University. I've been there for 4 years now. In 3 of the 4 years, we've been ranked #1 in the state in campus safety. And we've improved to 4th in the nation among more than 450 colleges and universities nationwide. That's progress that I am proud to be a part of. 28 years in the New Orleans Police Department. I retired at the rank of lieutenant. 4 of those years I worked as a correctional officer from 1979 to 1983. I'm in this race because our jail system is truly in a crisis. It has caused us national embarrassment. It is considered the most dangerous jail in the country and the most dysfunctional. For us as voters, there's no transparency there. We have a right to know how our tax dollars are being spent, just as we do in the school district. And so I'm saying to you tonight, it's time for us to go in a new direction. We've got to bring a level of transparency in the same way we've done on the Orleans Parish School Board and post things publicly on the website for taxpayers to see. The jail is a dangerous place, according to the court's own experts, a dangerous place for people to work and to be housed. I want to change that. That's why I'm in this race. It's a law enforcement environment, and I promise you, I'll work hard for you and come back to you in 4 years, just as I've done on the school board, and just as I've done at SUNO and in the NOPD, and give you a good report of the changes that we have made. And she's telling me my time is up. Thank you very much.
We have Dr. Rouse. He's running for coroner.
Thank you very much. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to address you tonight. By way of introductions, my name is Dr. Jeffrey Rouse. Born and raised in New Orleans. In fact, I graduated from kindergarten on that stage right there. I used to play softball on that field right there, and I had the red and the green snowball stains to prove it in my past. I went to Jesuit for high school, where I was their valedictorian in 1992. I went to Duke University, and then I went to Georgetown University for medical school. But as many of you know, New Orleans is like a rubber band. You stretch out far enough, it's going to pull you back home. So I came back and did my residency in psychiatry at Tulane and Cherry. And while I was a resident there, someone tapped me on the shoulder and asked me if I wanted to become part of the coroner's office. Because few people know that the coroner's office is actually responsible for doing mental health evaluations for the sick. And so I started doing that in 2002. When Hurricane Katrina hit, I went from being one of 5 psychiatrists to being the only one. I volunteered my services for about 9 months in the city and became the only psychiatrist in the office. In fact, I had broke back into New Orleans on my own with a backpack of medical supplies and set up a gift shop in the Sheraton on Canal. I made that into a triage medical center, helping the first responders and the people they were rescuing. And so I was right there in the ground in Katrina. I was right there in the ground of the mental health crisis that happened in the city right thereafter. And so I've performed that role honestly, ethically, and professionally ever since. I've done over 10,000 psychiatric evaluations on behalf of the city. And many of you have never heard of them. Why? Because I've done it ethically, I've done it professionally, and not once have my medical ethics or professionalism been questioned, either privately or publicly. So I've been in the coroner's office for 12 years. I know exactly how that side of the office works and how the death investigation side of the office works. I have been to murder scenes. I have picked up bodies out of homes and off the public streets. I have driven the van. I have watched the autopsies. I know exactly how that process is done, from soup to nuts. Right? And I am the candidate, I believe, with the shortest learning curve on how to improve that side of the office and how to make that side of the office better in terms not only of the public perception, but also in terms of the scientific scrutiny that comes out of the back of that office. So for example, for simple self-generated funds that I can create, I can basically get an additional death investigator, a grief counselor, a person to be in the back of the autopsy suite taking objective photographic evidence. But again, it's not about the death side, it's not about the mental health side, it's about the fact that this is an office that has been neglected for years. And when I'm the coroner, it will be a medical office that I can be proud of, that my family can be proud of, and the citizens of New Orleans can be proud of, because the fact of the matter is, no one comes to the coroner's office when things are going well. And when I'm the doctor there, I can promise you that answers will be given and the process of healing will begin. Thank you very much for your time.
Awards that were given out to some really awesome people, and the awards are named after some really awesome people. One of whom's here, Elaine Haggerty's here. So we're going to start off with the Peter Compagno Award, and Todd Wallace is going to present that for us.
All right, Cheryl's going to come around the front. I have the distinct pleasure of presenting the Peter Campano Award this year. It's an award that we've given here in Lakeview for a couple of decades, and it goes to a person or person who exemplifies the true meaning of service. One of our candidates earlier tonight mentioned true civic duty and true public service, and that really is what this board has always done, and our committee chairs have always done. We obviously don't get compensated for anything we do. We don't have any perks. We don't have any parking spots or anything like that. This is the ultra grassroots, bare bottoms definition of public service. And so what we've tried to do with this award is recognize someone who really exemplifies just that, and that's giving your all for your neighborhood for no good reason except that you love the neighborhood. So I'm proud tonight to give the 2014 Peter Campano Award to Tommy Romelli. And I've had a chance to work, yep, good point. I've had the good fortune to work with Tommy here at Lakeview Civic for the past 8 or 9 years and gotten to know he and his wife during that time. And I can say that without a doubt, with the rare exception of maybe a Freddie Yoder or Pepe Bruno, that no one works harder or has worked harder for this neighborhood than Tommy. We've put on a lot of great events in this neighborhood, pre-Katrina with Lakeview Fest, post-Katrina in recovery with raising funds through Taste of the Lake, the Gala, Lakeview Fest, etc. And none of that happens on its own. It doesn't happen by us hiring corporate entities to come in and put on these. It happens because Tommy and others who set up, who work, who never say no. Emails constantly go out amongst this group and with our Lakeview Civic Committee chairs brainstorming about a particular problem or an issue. And inevitably, there are people like me who won't respond to the email immediately because I'm assuming someone else will maybe step up to the plate. The wonderful thing about Tommy is he is always the first one to respond and say, not only does he have an answer, but he says, I can do it, I can help. And that really is what makes him unique and special with regard to this community. So, Tommy, on behalf of Lakeview Civic and all those who you've worked for and with over the years, I can't thank you enough for all you've done. And if we had more public servants like you in this neighborhood throughout the city would be a heck of a lot better. So, congratulations.
You gonna read it? Oh, don't tell me. Somebody got a camera, it's exhausted on them. Take a picture with that?
You can take it off.
Huh?
We're done. Oh, you got? We'll do the phone. Good to go.
Wait, one more time. Yeah, I've been taking pictures all night and it's exhausted right when I go to.
Quick.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have the Ghislaine Hegarty Award. Ghislaine, if you probably know this, she was on the board for 30 plus years. So last year when she retired, we decided it was fitting to have an award named after her to pick somebody who was a member of Lakeview Civic Improvement Association who went above and beyond like Ghislaine did for so many decades. So we thought about it, we had a lot of great nominees, and we couldn't just decide on one, we came up with two. And Laura LeBon is going to introduce one of them, and then Glenn Stout will introduce the other.
As with many things, it's impossible to appreciate the complexities of writing good zoning policy until you try. The LCIA zoning committee has been tasked with combining the neighborhood's desires with proven good urban design over the past few years. Not an easy task. And while we've had our differences, this committee has worked through it as a team. While each member of this committee brings years of professional experience and a commitment to preserve the qualities of Lakeview that our community values, Bill Argus's special gifts are his limitless patience and an incredible ability to calm people who have been put on the defensive. Bill gives each person who asks assistance his undivided attention and calmly and thoroughly tries to find the best way to achieve what the person wants to achieve within the boundaries of the zoning ordinance. Unless you've tried to design something within a strict zoning code, you have no idea how difficult that is. For 7 years, he has unofficially served as this committee's keeper of the record. I think it's safe to say that without Bill, we would be lost. Over the past few years, Bill has become a mentor and a friend, and I am honored to present the Ghislaine Hegarty Award to Bill Argus Jr.
As I became a member of the board, I can't actually recall how many years before I came on the board after Katrina that Ray was involved, but in addition to being a long-serving board member, Ray Bergeron has always quietly taken care of things for zoning. I mean, I had no clue what the zoning committee did before I actually became a board member, and I had even less of a clue until I became president in 2010. But in any event, the zoning committee is the people you've got to go to if you have a problem. So the problem generally being you'd like to build something that isn't exactly the way that the zoning rules might be set up. So Ray and his committee quietly have worked with the city government tirelessly, really, since Katrina, when we've had thousands and thousands of houses built. And Ray's done this all sort of behind the scenes. It gets done efficiently, professionally. There are no problems that we really hear of other than the problems that come to the zoning committee. So I think this amount of service and doing these things that are just really sort of, as I would say, behind the scenes, I think is deserving of special recognition. And I think that we should definitely, as a community, give thanks to Ray and his committee members for having performed this very valuable volunteer service over all these years. And so, Ray, please come on up and accept this award. We'd like to thank you with a round of applause for your years of service.
We got it? Okay. Thank you very much. We don't do this we don't do it for this. We do it because we enjoy it.
I'll just ditto what Glenn said. I had no idea what the zoning committee did until I became president. It's just unbelievable. All right, we have one more award, and I dare to say it was worth the wait. We have Pastor Crosby is here to give an introduction. It may have been something you heard about, but if not, he's about ready to share a very special story, and we're thankful for you waiting for so long.
Well, I'm part of this group, so very interesting and informative. I have a grandson who was 10 months old when he fell into a bucket of water, about 3 inches of water in it, aspirated the water, turned blue, lifeless. My daughter was trying to revive him. The husband, Mike, arrived. She tried to, he worked on her. And while he was working on Graham, Rebecca came walking along, just happened to be coming along the sidewalk. And she stopped. She'd just been trained in infant CPR. She knew my son-in-law wasn't doing it right. She came over, she pushed him out of the way. She administered CPR to Graham. And Rebecca, you detected some life in Graham, I think. You're the only one I know of the 5 or 6 people who helped with CPR in that incident, who actually detected him responding, because there was no heartbeat found for 30 minutes. They didn't find a heartbeat on Graham until he was in the emergency room. But Graham is doing great, thanks to the first, Rebecca, of a succession of angels who cared for him from the front yard of that home to the emergency room. And people have checked on him, and many have prayed for him. Thousands of people prayed for Graham. So we've been discussing the work of God here in our community, because this is God's work too. Safety and justice, these are things. But this was God's work as well. So Rebecca, we're very grateful. And I know that Nancy has something to present to you.
And Rebecca, just to let you know, if something happens to anybody in our community, it happens to all of us. So Rebecca's not from Lakeview, but you're definitely now a Lakeview person.
That's right.
We love you. Thank you very much. We have a certificate of recognition. Rebecca, how old are you?
18.
Rebecca's 18, and you go to school
At Riverdale.
at Riverdale High School. So this is absolutely awesome that someone so young just went to work like she did. Thank you very much. The certificate of recognition for Rebecca Boyette, an appreciation of your selflessness and the life-saving measures of a young member of our community. The Lakeview Civic Improvement Association extends its deepest gratitude. So we'd like you to come up and accept the certificate.
Oh, you want me in this picture?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay.
You got it?
Okay, we're almost done here. All right, we have a wonderful new business in the neighborhood. We have Lakeview Physical Therapy Clinic, City Park Physical Therapy Clinic located at the Old Plantation Coffee Shop at 5559 Canal Boulevard. You can go there for a free consultation, and you can sign up to win for a prize tonight. And if you guys want to bring up the little, you got something? You got the, come on up, we're at the end of the agenda. And I do want to remind you that the tomorrow night is actually Sergeant Beauvier and Police Officer Trepanier's retirement party. It's actually down the street, but it is tomorrow night, 4 to 6:30.
Yes, Hi, I'm Cherie Rose, and my husband's back there, Randy Rose. I'm an occupational therapist, and Randy's a physical therapist, and we just opened up City Park Physical Therapy on Canal Boulevard. We want you to come join us. We're going to be having a grand opening soon, so look for that mailer coming out to you. And please go to our table and sign up, and we're going to hurry up and pick names, and we have 6 little prizes for y'all. So come on by and get your free consultation, too. If you have any kind of injury, come on by, we'll take care of you. Thank you.
Closing remarks, I want to thank Jan Lockwood, who always comes and brings some drinks, Ty Savan, who helps with the food. I want to mention meet and greet is either going to be March 29th or March 30th. You may know that as kind of the spring version of Night Out Against Crime, so please watch for email blast about that. If I missed any candidates, if I missed any reports, we good to go? All right, someone wants to move to adjourn. Glenn, Laura seconds, all in favor? Thank you for coming.